In this video, we want to add the code that will allow the user to receive an email once their data successfully is successfully inserted into the database. But before we go, I want to make a suggestion. Because we are going to be using Gmail, the email we are going to be sending will be sent from a Gmail account. So I would suggest that you don't use your personal Gmail account. Just go on Gmail and create a test account. So we're going to be using the email account address and also the password. So don't use your personal Gmail account. Now to continue, let's go back to our project inside our insert.php. Now in the last video, we saw how we added the swift_mailer.php file inside the lab folder. So we included it in our insert.php. So now what we want to do is, once the data for the user is inserted successfully, then the user should receive an email. So the code for the email will be written inside this if statement. So here, if the inputs from the form data, they match all of these criteria, then the data should be inserted into the sign up table. Then we are checking here, if there's an error, then we should receive query failed. But what we want to do now is the code for it will insert it inside this statement. Now what we want to do now is we want to say if this query is true, that if it's successful, that is if query, then we insert or we send the user an email. So because here as it is this way, it's saying if the query is true, but if we put an exclamation at the front, we're saying if the query is false. But we are not using that. We want the email to be sent if this query is true. That means if the data is inserted successfully. So the code that we're going to use, I will just paste inside and we'll go through it. Now this is how the code looks like for the Swiftmailer. So at this top, we are creating a transport here, which is going to be making use of a Gmail. So we have smtp.gmail.com. This is the port that it uses. Now the next thing we need to do is under this, inside this set username, we're going to add the username or the email account that will be sending the email from. So I will type in the name of the account we'll be sending the email from. And the email I created was my testmail9000 at gmail.com. So here where we have the set username, you add the name of the email, the address of the email where the email will be sent from. Then here is going to be the password, but here I will not add the password for now. Only when I want to send an email, I will just include the password. Then we are creating another new instance of the mailer. We are not going to think about this that much. Then the next thing is we create another instance of the message as well. Then for the message, we are going to add a subject. So this is what the user will see. So the subject we can add here is, say, verify your email address. So this is the subject that the user will see inside this set subject. Then the next thing is we will need to add where the user or where the email is coming from, as we added here, and also the name that will be displayed as the sender. So here we can just copy this email we have here. We copy this, we paste inside this set from. Then the name of the sender, I can just call it Eddie Tutors. So the name of the email, the name of the sender. Then the next thing is where the email is going to. That is inside this set to array. So we just add, since the email is coming from here, this email we are getting from the field. So we get this and we paste inside this array for set to. So the email is coming from here from this sender and it's going to this email. Then another thing we need to add the body. So right now we don't have the message that will be displayed, or when the user opens the email, the message that will be displayed to the user. So to do that, we are going to create a message. Here at the top, I'll just create a message. I'll copy it. I already have it, so I'll just copy it and paste it. So I just paste it. So this is how the message looks like. Here we are creating a message that says, please activate your account using this link. Then inside we added an anchor link, which with an href. Here is going to the localhost /crud, which is the name of our project. Then inside the crud we have a folder called user, which is this. Then inside we are going to create a file called user_activation.php. Now it is inside this user_activation.php that the user or the email will be activated. That means the activation we are talking about is we are going to set this is_active to be 1, because once the user inserts the data, it's going to be, the value for this is 0 as we're sending from here. So inside this user_activation, once they click on this link, this value will change from 0 to 1. So we've not created this file, we'll create it later. Then we're going to be sending a GET request through the URL. Now we are sending the user activation key, which is this key randomly generated. And as you know, for every user, the key is going to be unique. So we're going to send this key. It is with this key that we're going to get from the URL that we can use inside our PHP code to allow the user to activate. So if the key we get from this URL is equal to the key in the database, that is the activation key, then the user or the is_active will be updated inside the database from 0 to 1. So we are creating this. So the user, inside the user's email, they will see this message. So we just copy this message and we put it inside the body, that is add as part. The message will be displayed as an HTML text. Now the last option here is that the results, we are sending the email and we are saving it inside this result variable. Now this is the code we are using to send the email. Another thing we need to do is we need to alert message to the user if the email was sent successfully or not. So we create an if statement to say if it's not result, that means if this email sending failed, then we should display an error message, else we should display a success message to the user. So we can just copy this that we have here, this bootstrap alert, we copy it out and we paste the first one in here and the second one in here. So we can call this fail. So we can say email verification was not successful. Email was not sent. We can say email was not sent, or we can change it to say failed to send verification email. Send verification email. So, and we change this to danger, but this is going to be info. Or we can say here a verification email has been sent. Here a verification email has been sent. So if and we change this, we can change this to info. So if the email was sent successfully, the user will see this message. Else, if it fails, then the user will see this message. One last thing, we can just add this as global variables. So we go up here. Here at the top, we can just create new. Can say info and fail. So we successfully added these messages and made them global variables. And we added the code that will send the email to the user. So in the next video, we are going to see how this works.